Welcome to Jacked History. My name is Jack Manville and I just love history. I'm not trying to tell you something profound, I just want something fun for you to tell your buddies at the bar. Some people born into shitty situations die in shitty situations. Some people born into great situations die in great situations. Some people born into shitty situations die in great situations. And some people born into great situations consistently have the world wanting them to die in shitty situations, but they overcome it nonetheless. Meet Robert Todd Lincoln, lawyer, soldier, politician, diplomat, unwilling presidential candidate, and overall bad luck charm. And if the name sounds familiar, yes, his daddy was kind of a big deal. Daddy was such a big deal that during Robert's early years, he almost never saw him on account of the old man always being on the law and speech circuit. And when Dad was around, most historians agree that the tall fella let Robert and his three other siblings do pretty much whatever they wanted to. It sounds like that divorced dad with like 25% custody of his kids, letting them do whatever they want because he can't afford to be the bad guy with what little time he has in their life. Bobby Todd, like his dad, had some high aspirations. Harvard's flight, you goddamn... Okay, it's just that he failed 15 of the 16 subjects for his entrance exam. Luckily, he had a dad that was fixing to run for the highest office, so they made sure he got in there eventually. Nothing has changed with that school. So by 1864, baby Lincoln is graduating from college as his father is overseeing the most deadly conflict in American history. You know, that whole Civil War thing, brother fighting against brother, over 600,000 military dead, roughly 2.5% of the population, the lands ravished, emancipation of those in bondage, a new chapter in American life that was hopefully going to begin a better future. Plus, we did get the popularization of baseball out of the whole thing, so yeah. I'm kind of glad the Civil War happened. It should go without saying that being a military-aged male who wasn't participating in this conflict was a bad look, based on who his father was. But it wasn't as much his call not to join the war effort as it was his mother's, Mary Todd, who had already saw the death of two of Robert's younger brothers.
Utah! Give me two!
One of them during their father's presidency. Combined with the fact that most historians agree she was already suffering from grave mental illness, Mary was starting to crack, and the idea of another son dying was unconscionable to her. Hey, but he's the son of the president. So they pulled some strings and got him a nice commission as a captain and a staff job with General Grant, where he safely served until the war's end, even having been witness to General Lee's surrender at Appomattox Courthouse. That was April 9th, 1865. Guess what happened 5 days later? Robert was rushing to his father's bedside as his father lay mortally wounded after being shot in the back of the head by John Wilkes Booth at Ford's Theater. A play that Robert turned down attending due to fatigue after, being tired from doing non-combat bitch work for generals for the last 3 months of the war.
Just if you consider I've never been in combat, sir, I make maps and I translate.
Anywho, he was by his father's bedside when he died and had to console his increasingly cuckoo crazy mother. That goddamn John Wilkes Booth. Got him! Hey, before we continue, let's take it back a couple of years. I have a really effing weird story for you. While Bobby Todd was still in school, he was waiting in line to purchase tickets at a train platform in Paterson, New Jersey. He was pressed up against the train by the crowd that had surged onto the platform. Because 19th century America sounds as stressful as boarding a train in Korea, the train began to start moving and Bobby was twisted off the platform where he fell to the tracks as the train was about to cut him in half. Right as death seemed certain, a hand swooped down and pulled him back up on the train platform, saving his life. Bobby Todd turned around to thank his hero and immediately recognized him. It was Edwin Booth, one of the most famous actors from one of the most famous acting families in America. Back then, people knew who famous actors were way more than they knew who the president's children were. So Bobby thanked Edwin Booth by name, and Edwin just sat there not realizing whose life he just saved.
Who the hell are you?
Wholesome. Until April 14th, 1865, when Bobby's dad was killed at the pistol of Edwin's younger brother, actor John Wilkes Booth, at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., while they watched a popular play called Our American Cousin. Good actor like his older brother. Shittier person. Edwin was distraught. He had been on the outs with his younger brother for years, and news of his brother's involvement in the assassination sent him into despair. Edwin abandoned acting for years after the assassination. He made his return playing Hamlet in 1866, which became his most famous role. He continued that role throughout the year.
Look at me, I'm an actor.
His brother's name was never again spoken in his house. You just can't make this stuff up. I really don't know how to articulate the utter magnitude of this situation, so I'm just gonna give it a modern comparison. Imagine if Dennis Quaid, the actor, was just walking into LAX one day to catch a flight to Vancouver to film a movie because Hollywood has somehow managed to make it cheaper to film movies in foreign countries than in their own backyard. I digress. And as Dennis is walking into the terminal, he sees none other than Hunter Biden hanging outside of the terminal, just going to town on a crack pipe. Dennis is worried about the negative effects that crack can have on the human body. So he runs up to Hunter and screams, "Hey, if you take one more hit of that crack, it's gonna give you a heart attack and you'll die." And then Hunter is all like, "No, I love crack. I wanna smoke this crack. Crack is so yummy, yummy, yummy crack." And as Hunter is about to put the pipe to his lips, Dennis Quaid slaps the crack pipe right out of his hands and saves his life. And then Hunter is like, "No, my precious crack, it's mine, my precious. Precious!" And right after that, Papa Joe gets a call on the White House phone, and somebody on the other line is like, "Mr. President, Dennis Quaid from 1998's The Parent Trap just saved Hunter's life by taking his crack away from him." And then Papa President Joe is like, "Huh? There's no more oatmeal in the White House kitchen? Well, I'll just have to go buy more oatmeal, slick." And everybody in the family is super happy that Dennis Quaid saved their son's life. But then, like 3 months later, Papa President Joe is sitting at a movie theater in Washington, D.C. with his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, eating some ice cream, watching Oppenheimer on IMAX. And all of a sudden, Dennis's brother, Randy Quaid, shows up and does the unthinkable to Papa President Joe. And then it's complete pandemonium in the place. Somebody screams, "Is there a doctor in the theater?" And Jill Biden is like, "I'm a doctor." And they're like, no, like a medical doctor, not a doctor of education." Come on, Randy, like, WTF, man. What is wrong with you, baby brother? Our family has been working their butts off for years in this industry, and now you've gone and done this?
Oh, boy!
Hi, this is an ad read, but since this is a new show and I don't have any official sponsors yet, I'm gonna do things a little different for this. Instead of taking money from a sponsor to say nice things about them, I'm gonna say shitty things about someone until they pay me to stop. What's up, Peter? Peter, pumpkin eater? Why are you always bringing tuna into the office, man? Your tuna's stinking up the place with your goddamn tuna breath and your tuna wrappers. I'm sick of your shit. I'm gonna keep saying nasty things about you, so you either stop eating tuna or you gave me money, Peter. I want money, Peter. I want cash, money, or Venmo, or Cash App, or PayPal, or Zelle. Where was I? Oh yeah, Robert Todd Lincoln. Sorry. Also in 1866, Bobby had moved his grief-stricken mother and only surviving sibling back to Illinois while he attended law school in Chicago. He graduated, got married, and started a family, and was in the middle of a humble law and political career when more tragedy struck in 1871. His only surviving sibling, Tad, died at 18. His mother, Mary, who was already showing increasingly erratic behavior before the death, did not handle it well. I don't know what else to say. The bitch snapped. Bobby Todd realized that Mary Todd was incapable of living on her own, so he did one of the hardest things in his life, other than watching his dad and all 3 of his siblings die, and he committed Mary to a private insane asylum while meticulously overseeing her finances in anticipation of her rehabilitation and release. Doesn't matter, the former First Lady escaped the nut house and proceeded to defame him in the newspapers after that. His own mother, who was definitely crazy. The tension continued until after her death. In 1881, Bob was appointed the Secretary of War, which is currently known as the Secretary of Defense by President James Garfield, a very important position. Just a few months into Garfield's presidency in July of that year, Robert Todd was accompanying him at a train station to see him off to New Jersey when a dastardly fella by the name of Charles Guiteau pumped 2 bullets into the president right in front of Robert Todd. The wounds would eventually claim the life of the president less than a year into his term. Holy shit, dude. He continued to serve in that role with the next president, Chester Arthur. During that time, a lot of prominent people from his own party started floating his name as a presidential candidate, and he was like, No effing way, guys. I am cursed. From 1889 to 1893, he served as the U.S. ambassador to Britain, a very important position as well. That's when his oldest son, Jack, died. Holy shit, man, this guy cannot catch a break. He went back into private practice after that. But he was always personally invited to attend presidential events, even when he went back to private life. It was at the Pan American Exposition in 1901 that Robert Todd had another great adventure. President William McKinley personally invited him to attend a meet and greet where one Leon Zogala, I don't know, some weird Eastern European name, pumped 2 shots into the president, which eventually cost him his life just a few days later. Robert was in the room for that one too. In 1922, then 79-year-old Bob Todd Lincoln was with the current president Warren G. Harding and former President Howard Taft for the unveiling of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. Both presidents miraculously survived this encounter with him. Good news there, I guess. He died 4 years later at the age of 83, the last person that was alive who witnessed the surrender of Robert E. Lee. His wishes were to be buried with his family in Illinois, a wish his wife totally ignored and had him buried in Arlington, Virginia. One last time for Robert Todd Lincoln to get the short end of the stick.
Robert Todd Lincoln, a bad luck John, wherever he steps. Robert Todd Lincoln, the daddy's boy who causes mayhem. His brother's all dead, his daddy dead too, his mother hates him. His life is a zoo, every hand he shakes is a bad mistake, they'll die too. Bad luck, Bobby Todd, you'll live to fight another day. Bad luck, Bobby Todd, you never get things your way. Bad luck, Bobby Todd, and luck, Bobby Todd, God hates you. God save Bobby